Welcome back to Inherited Dawn, a One Piece podcast. We are breaking down chapter 61 today, Demon. And Robin, I'm just going to say it up top. This is one of those chapters.
It is. This chapter asks a very simple question. What happens when an unstoppable force of cruelty meets an immovable object of kindness?
And the answer is just tears. Absolute soul-shattering tears. We have got to talk about Gin.
We absolutely do. The man they call a demon has a choice to make, and it might just break him completely.
It might break me completely. If you want to be here to pick up the pieces with us every single week as we follow this story, maybe drop a follow or a subscribe wherever you're listening. It's the best way to make sure you never miss a moment like this one.
A wise choice, because the chapter kicks off with Sanji and Gin already deep in their fight.
And it is a clash of titans. Sanji with those hurricane kicks, just a whirlwind of motion, and Gin with those heavy iron ball tonfas. It's pure grace versus pure brute force. You see Sanji's leg extend, this perfect, clean line, and then wham! It's met by this ugly, functional chunk of iron. There's almost a sound effect you can feel in your teeth, that heavy clang of metal on shoe leather.
The choreography of it is fascinating. Sanji is all about flow and momentum, using his entire body as a whip. Gin, on the other hand, is planted. He's a fortress. His tonfas aren't just for striking, they're extensions of his forearms, creating a near impenetrable guard. Every block is a full-body commitment, absorbing the kinetic energy of Sanji's attacks.
And you can see how frustrating it is for Sanji. He's landing what should be devastating blows, but Gin is just taking them on the tonfas. It's like kicking a steel wall over and over again. And Gin isn't just defending. Every block is an opportunity for a counterattack. A quick jab at the end of the tonfa, a sweeping strike with the iron ball. It's brutally efficient.
And at first, they seem completely deadlocked. Every kick is blocked. Every swing is dodged. They are perfectly matched in skill. For every one of Sanji's acrobatic evasions, there is a perfectly timed parry from Gin. It's a deadly dance, and neither one is willing to give an inch of the stage.
The Krieg pirates watching from the fins of the ship are getting nervous. They're muttering that Gin might actually lose this. They've never seen him struggle like this. And this is a huge deal. This isn't just some grunt. This is their battle commander. Seeing him fight to a standstill is like watching a mountain start to crumble. It shakes their entire foundation.
But Don Krieg isn't worried. He just laughs. It's such a dismissive, arrogant sound. He's looking at this life or death struggle like it's a mildly amusing theatrical performance. He says Gin's fighting ability won't give out. And then he gives us the core of Gin's entire character up to this point.
He calls him a demon, and this isn't just a nickname. It's a title. It's a reputation. It's a weapon in and of itself.
Epithets in this world carry immense weight. Think of Hawkeye's Mihawk. His name alone clears battlefields. These titles are narratives built on actions and fear. When Krieg calls Gin a demon, he's not just describing him, he's invoking a legend. He's reminding everyone present, including his own men, of the stories they've all heard.
And Krieg, the master propagandist, lays it all out for us. He's not just telling Sanji, he's telling the reader. He's setting the stakes. This isn't just a tough guy. This is a man who is defined by his lack of emotion.
Krieg explains that Gin is calm, collected, and kills without pardon. He's not just a strong fighter, he's psychologically terrifying. That's why he was the battle commander of the whole armada.
An army doesn't follow a man just because he's strong. They follow him because they fear him more than they fear the enemy. Gin, the tool Krieg uses to keep his entire force in line.
That's so twisted. Krieg isn't proud of Gin's strength, he's proud of his utility. He sees Gin as this perfectly crafted weapon that never questions, never hesitates, never feels. A demon isn't a person, it's a function, and that's all Gin has been to him.
It's the fundamental difference between a crew like Krieg's and a crew like the one Luffy is building. Krieg's crew is an arsenal of weapons, each with a specific function, all of them ultimately disposable. Luffy's crew is a collection of people with dreams. This moment really highlights that distinction.
Oda is so good at this. He establishes a character's public identity, this ironclad legend built on fear, right before he smashes it to bits. He's showing us the mask before he shows us the man underneath. And right now, that mask is terrifying.
And the mask is working, because Sanji is still feeling the damage from his fight with Pearl. He's not at 100%. Pearl's entire gimmick was that fighting him meant hurting yourself. Sanji took a direct, explosive hit to the back. His ribs are likely bruised, if not cracked.
You can see it. His movements are just a little bit slower, a little less sharp. There's a panel where he winces, and you know that every kick, every pivot is sending a jolt of pain through his body. And Jin, the demon, takes immediate advantage of that. He's not just a brute, he's a predator. He sees the weakness, the slightest hesitation, and he pounces.
He presses forward, relentless, and corners Sanji against the broken mast. The battlefield shrinks. Sanji no longer has room for his wide, sweeping kicks. He's forced into a close-quarters brawl, which is exactly where Jin, with his short-range Tonfas, has the advantage. It's a masterful piece of combat strategy from Jin.
The other Barati cooks are watching, and the mood shifts from confidence to dread. Patty is sweating. Carne is clenching his fists. These are guys who were ready to fight to the death a few chapters ago, and now they look completely powerless. They can see what's happening. They know Sanji is in real trouble.
They believe in Sanji, but they're also realists. They've seen countless fights. They can recognize the signs of a body giving out, of a fighter pushing past their limits. And they see it in Sanji now.
This is the thing about Sanji, though. Even when he's cornered, even when he's hurt, he's still got that fire. He's not fighting for his life here. He's fighting for his home, for Zeph. He's muttering about how he can't die yet. It's not about fear of death. It's about the debt he feels he still owes. That's a different kind of fuel. It burns hotter than simple survival instinct.
Which is why it's so jarring when we cut away to Luffy's side of the fight. The camera, so to speak, pans from this intensely personal, grounded martial arts battle to utter chaos.
Yeah, Luffy's not just gonna stand around while his new friend gets beaten up. He goes straight for the big guy. Classic Luffy. No plan, no hesitation, just you're the strongest one here, so I'm fighting you. He launches himself at Don Krieg. Gum pistol.
And Krieg just stands there and takes it. The punch connects with his golden armor with a dull thud. There's no reaction, no pain, nothing. Because his armor is more than just armor. With a click, it opens up, revealing a small arsenal.
It's cheating. It's the most East Blue villain thing imaginable. This guy is a walking battleship. He starts firing bombs out of his shoulders, just peppering the deck around Luffy. It's not even a fight, it's a demolition. The deck of the Barati is just getting completely torn apart.
Luffy, being Luffy, just bounces around them. His rubbery nature makes him uniquely suited to dealing with explosions. The shrapnel doesn't pierce him and the shockwaves don't break his bones. He's treating it like a dangerous game of dodgeball.
But then Krieg switches tactics. He's not just a one-trick pony. He unleashes a volley of sharp, heavy spears from his shield. It's a sudden shift from explosive area of effect damage to precise, piercing attacks. And Luffy, for all his agility, can't dodge them all.
And one of them connects. It goes straight through Luffy's foot, pinning him to the deck. The panel is brutal. You see the spear enter the top of his sandal and exit through the bottom, with splinters of wood flying up from the deck. He's screaming, and he almost slips and falls right into the ocean.
He's literally an inch away from his greatest weakness. The water is right there. We just saw what happened when Sanji had to save him from drowning. He was completely helpless. Krieg could end this entire invasion right now by just giving him a little shove. It's a genuinely tense moment.
And what does Luffy do? Pinned in agony, teetering on the edge of defeat? He gets angry, but he's not angry about the pain. He's angry about the way Krieg is fighting.
And Luffy, with a spear through his foot, yells at Krieg and asks him if he's not going to fight him seriously, man to man. He is fundamentally offended by Krieg's methods.
Okay, but think about what this means for their philosophies. This is the entire point of the confrontation. Luffy sees a fight as a test of will, of strength, of spirit, a direct confrontation. It's almost sacred to him. It's how you measure yourself.
Right, it's about who's stronger, who has more conviction, who wants it more. It's about looking your opponent in the eye and proving you're the better man. It's an honorable duel, even if it's a messy, bloody one.
But Krieg just scoffs at that. He looks at Luffy like he's a child who doesn't understand how the world works. He says the most important skill in a fight is killing your opponent, period. The method doesn't matter. Bombs, spears, poison, tricks, it's all just a means to an end. Victory is the only thing that has value.
He even calls Luffy a monkey for just charging in without a strategy. It's the ultimate pragmatist versus the ultimate idealist. Krieg doesn't care about honor. He cares about results. He would probably see Luffy's refusal to use weapons as a foolish weakness. Why limit yourself?
This is a theme Oda returns to again and again. What does it mean to be strong? Is it overwhelming firepower and tactical supremacy like Krieg? Or is it an unbreakable will and the ability to inspire others like Luffy? Krieg's philosophy is what allows someone to become a warlord or a tyrant. They rule through fear and overwhelming force.
But Luffy is trying to become the pirate king, and that's different. It's not about ruling. It's about being the most free. And you can't be free if you're a slave to tactics and tricks. You have to be strong enough in your soul to just face things head on.
It's the core difference between a pirate emperor and a pirate king, perhaps. One rules through fear and overwhelming force, the other through something else. This conversation is the seed of so many future conflicts. It's Luffy versus Crocodile, Luffy versus Doflamingo. It all starts here, with this clash of ideals on the deck of a floating restaurant.
Something better. And while Luffy is pinned down dealing with this walking weapon, this philosophical opposite, we hear a shout from the other side of the deck. And it's not a good shout.
The Krieg pirates are screaming in victory. They shout that Sanji's bone is broken. Not just that he's been hit, but a specific, grievous injury. The fight is no longer a stalemate.
And it's just brutal from there. Jin is completely overwhelming him. It's a complete one-sided beatdown. Oda shows us a montage of pain. Sanji being kicked, punched, slammed into the mast. Each panel is a new injury, a new moment of agony.
Jin is living up to his title. He is systematically dismantling Sanji. His face is cold, impassive. The demon is at work. You can see the pain on Sanji's face, but he won't go down. He keeps trying to get up, keeps trying to lift his leg for another kick, but his body is just failing him.
But his body is giving out. Jin lands a final, crushing blow with the iron ball, right to Sanji's side where he was already injured. You can almost hear the crack. Sanji is on the floor, barely conscious. The pirates are going wild, cheering for Jin's victory. It looks like it's over. Finish him, they're all screaming.
This is the moment, the execution, the logical conclusion of the battle. Jin has won. His orders are to kill everyone. Sanji is his opponent. He raises his tonfa to deliver the final strike.
And he freezes. The entire momentum of the chapter comes to a dead stop on this one panel. His arm is raised, the weapon poised, and he just stops. You can see the shock on the faces of the other Krieg pirates. This isn't part of the plan. The demon doesn't hesitate.
A memory flashes through his mind. Not of battle, not of cruelty, not of an order from his captain. It's Sanji, standing in the bar of tea, placing that plate of food in front of him, giving him a glass of water.
It's not even a dramatic memory. It's quiet. It's gentle. It's just a plate of seafood pilaf. But in that moment, it's the most powerful thing in the world. He remembers Sanji saying, "Eat it," not as a command, but as an offering, an act of pure, unadulterated compassion for a starving man, regardless of who that man was, treating him like a human being.
The first person, as Jin says, who has ever shown him kindness in his entire life. Stop and consider the weight of that sentence. Not the first person in a while, not the first person since he became a pirate, the first person in his entire life. It recontextualizes everything about him. His cruelty, his coldness. It wasn't a choice. It was the only language he was ever taught.
The tonfa starts to shake. You can see the muscles in his arm trembling. He's fighting himself. He's fighting years of conditioning, fighting his captain's orders, fighting his own reputation. He's fighting the demon. And then you see it. Tears are streaming down his face. The demon is crying.
He's not just crying, he's sobbing. It's an ugly, broken, messy cry. He's completely breaking down in front of his entire crew, in front of the man he was supposed to kill. This unflappable, cold-hearted commander is a wreck. The mask hasn't just been cracked, it's been pulverized.
And he says it out loud. He screams it. I can't kill him. He just can't do it. The one act of decency Sanji showed him completely short-circuited his entire identity. It introduced a variable into his equation that he has no way of processing. Grace.
It's a profound statement on this world. Jin, the battle commander of a 50-ship armada, a man feared across the East Blue as a demon, was undone by a hot meal. It's the ultimate refutation of Krieg's philosophy. Krieg believes overwhelming force is the answer to everything, but his most powerful weapon was just disarmed by something he would consider the ultimate weakness.
It tells you everything you need to know about the life he's lived. A life so devoid of warmth, of basic human decency, that a single spark was enough to burn the whole thing down. He wasn't a demon. He was just a man who had been taught that cruelty was the only language the world understood. He was starving, not just for food, but for any sign that he mattered as a person.
And Sanji spoke to him in a language he'd never heard before. It's not just about food, it's about dignity. Sanji didn't just give him food, he acknowledged his suffering and treated it with respect, even after his own crewmates had thrown him out. That act of validation was more powerful than any order Krieg ever gave.
This is it. This is the heart of the whole series right here. I'm getting fired up just thinking about it. It's not about being the strongest. It's about how you use your strength. It's about feeding the hungry. It's about standing up for your friends. Luffy and his crew, they don't just defeat their enemies. They reach into their chests and flip a switch that changes their entire world. They don't just break bones. They break chains. Super.
That one moment of compassion was more powerful than any weapon in Don Krieg's arsenal. It's a fundamental challenge to everything Krieg believes in. Strength isn't just about how hard you can hit. True strength is having a conviction so powerful that it can inspire a change of heart in a man known as a demon.
And speaking of things we believe in, it feels like a good time to mention Oda's author comment for the week. He thanks everyone for participating in the character popularity poll. It's a nice little meta moment, a breath of fresh air after that emotional gut punch.
And he mentions that he's really happy Luffy came in first. It's always charming to see the creator's genuine affection for his protagonist. He's not just writing a story, he's rooting for his characters alongside the audience.
My favorite part is that he says he was worried that Zoro or Shanks might overtake him. He was genuinely concerned for his main character. It's hilarious. He knows he created these incredibly cool, stoic characters who have a tendency to steal scenes, and he was like, oh no, I hope my goofy rubber boy can still win.
It's very endearing. It shows how much he loves Luffy and recognizes that sometimes the stoic swordsman or the mysterious mentor can steal the spotlight. But it also shows his confidence in Luffy's appeal. He knows that ultimately the heart of the story is what draws people in, and Luffy is all heart.
But they can't, because Luffy is the sun. The whole world orbits around him. It's good to see him get that #1 spot, where he belongs. Bro, this chapter was a masterpiece of character writing. The pacing, the reveals, the emotional climax, just perfect.
It truly was. It sets up a fascinating conflict for the next chapter. The will of the captain versus the conscience of his commander. Jin is now a man without a country, so to speak. He has defied his captain and his crew. What does he do now?
I can't wait to see how it plays out. The look on Don Krieg's face is going to be priceless. He just saw his perfect little demon machine grow a conscience. That's a serious design flaw in his book.
If you have a theory about what Jin does next or how Krieg will react to this insubordination, let us know in the comments. We love reading through them and seeing what everyone is thinking.
All right, let's get into it. Predictions for Chapter 62. You go first, Robin.
Okay. Prediction 1. I think Don Krieg is going to see this as the ultimate betrayal. He won't just be angry, he'll be offended. His entire philosophy has just been rejected by his most loyal man. This isn't just disobedience, it's a fundamental insult to his way of life. I think Krieg himself will now target Jin for death. He cannot allow that kind of weakness to be seen by the rest of the crew.
Ooh, I could totally see that. A "you're useless to me now" kind of moment. It's the ultimate pragmatist's move. The tool is broken, so you discard it. Okay, my first one. I think Luffy is not going to just pull that spear out of his foot. He's going to use it. He'll pivot on it, swing from it, maybe even pull up a chunk of the deck with it to use as a shield or a club. He always turns a bad situation into a weird, unexpected weapon. The spear isn't a debuff, it's a new piece of equipment.
That is extremely in character for him. My second prediction. I think Jin, having made his choice, is going to actively help Sanji. Not by fighting for him, but by giving him a key piece of information. It will be his one act of rebellion. He'll whisper something about Krieg's armor, a key weak spot, how the poison gas works, something only the second in command would know. It's a way to repay his debt to Sanji without having to directly fight his old crew.
A little intel to turn the tides, a strategic apology. I like that. For my second one, I think the other cooks are finally going to snap. Seeing Sanji's sacrifice, his willingness to go down for the restaurant, and now Jin's incredible change of heart, Patty and Carne are going to lead a full-on charge of every chef on the Barati. They've been watching from the sidelines, but this is the moment that galvanizes them. A kitchen utensil riot, frying pans and meat cleavers against swords and guns.
An army of cooks. It feels appropriate for this arc. All right, my final prediction. I think this is built on Krieg's reaction. I believe Zeph will finally step off the observation deck. He's been watching, judging, letting his kids handle it. But Jin's act of humanity and Krieg's inevitable monstrous reaction to it will be the trigger. He'll see that this isn't just a pirate raid anymore. It's a battle for the soul of his restaurant, and he will intervene directly, perhaps with just one single terrifying kick.
The old man finally gets his hands dirty. I love it. The legend of Red Leg Zeph finally steps onto the stage. Okay, my last one. I think we're going to get a single brief flashback panel for Jin. Just a glimpse. It won't be a long backstory. Just a quick shot of him as a child, cold and starving, being kicked away by someone. Just enough context to hammer home why Sanji's kindness meant so much. Oda will give us that one image to completely break our hearts before the chaos resumes.
Oda does love to provide that emotional context right when it hits hardest. Those are some solid predictions. It feels like the entire arc is balanced on the knife's edge of this one moment.
Let's see what happens. This is getting good. Join us next time as we dive into what happens when a demon disobeys his master. You're not going to want to miss it. Until then, keep sailing.